Good. Okay. Um, so one thing I'd like to ask is, oftentimes it seemed like Grandma Marilyn had to leave, or she left early, took the kids back to Utah, and then you stayed for 6 weeks, a month.
When we were in Brazil?
Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
you would stay longer in Brazil.
Yeah, she'd come home. We would have, every 2 years, we would have a lengthy furlough.
Uh-huh.
And she usually would leave, I don't remember whether it was a couple of weeks or a month earlier, often.
And was it difficult to stay in contact with her?
We need her for memory.
Okay.
'Cause I'm sure we wrote, and we may have even called occasionally.
Okay.
But that was the days before Skype.
No cell phones.
And no cell phones.
All right. Another question I had is, you talk about while you're in Santos, that's where Pele lived, and Pele played for the Santos team.
Right.
And he was a big superstar. Everyone recognized him,
Right.
driving around in his powder blue Mercedes-Benz. Did you ever go see a soccer game?
Probably not.
Probably not.
I don't remember going.
Okay. How about Rob? He was 8 or 9 at the time, and so was he playing soccer, or
Oh yes, very much so.
was he? Did you ever go see any of his soccer games, or how was he?
He was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good player. He played high school and college.
Yeah. Yeah. Was he pretty competitive as a niño?
No, he was very calm and collected, but on the field he was competitive.
Interesting. So very much like he is today.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And so he played soccer. He swam. He was on the swim teams. And you said a few occasions people recruited him to be on their swim team.
Right.
How was he as a swimmer?
He was good.
Yeah.
He was a good little swimmer.
Yeah. Did you ever teach him?
Well, we had him taught from a very early age.
Did you ever teach him soccer skills?
No.
Soccer wasn't your sport?
Outside my league.
Did he play with the neighborhood boys, just on the street or anything?
Yes. When we lived in Brazil, the neighborhood was not like the neighborhood here. It was pretty much, the friendships and associations were pretty much in the social clubs. And so we belonged to a couple of social clubs. And especially when after I became a manager, belonged to the country club as well as other social clubs. So we had, that was an important part of our social life.
That's the only question.
Okay. And so it talks about, kind of continuing on with that last statement about the social clubs. It says you spent 3 years at the Board of American School, 2 years as the president of the American Chamber of Commerce, member of the Rotary Club, board member of the Local Partners for Progress. Just, you were constantly involved.
Yeah.
Why did you choose to be so involved?
Well, I'm not sure that it was a conscious decision. It certainly came with the job, especially when I became a manager, and was very much involved with my clients as well as with the community, and my clients were involved in the community too. So it was a good cross-fertilization.
That's neat.
For business reasons as well as personal.
So what did you do on the board of the American School?
Well, the board of directors at the American school was responsible for the school. It was a private undertaking. There was no scholastic association that we were aligned with in Brazil. It did have connections with U.S. Scholastic associations, but the board of directors was made up of members of the American community, and the objective was to become as much of an American school as possible in an informed environment. And we weren't associated with any of the Brazilian scholastic associations or school boards or anything like that. But it was an association of American schools. And every city of any kind in Brazil had an American school. And Porto Alegre had one, Recife had one. Santos, I don't think did, but São Paulo, of course, did.
So, were there American teachers brought in?
There were, especially in São Paulo. The other cities like Recife and Porto Alegre and Santos were, it was a much smaller American community. Hence the extent of the school was limited also.
About how many students were enrolled at each of these schools? Or at least in the ones you can remember, like maybe Recife and Robin Cosette were there.
Maryland would be a better one on that question. The American community in places like Santos and Recife and Porto Alegre was existent but not large. And a lot of people that were locals would send their kids to the American school too, because of English and because they felt they could get a better education than from the Brazilian public school system. That was especially true in São Paulo. But even in Recife, there were quite a few Brazilians that attended the American school there.
Interesting. Okay, so and then what was being like, so you were the president of the American Chamber of Commerce as well? And so how was that? What did you do in that position?
Well, the American Chamber is organized in order to bring the American community, business and of individuals together and provide assistance as possible. They were small chambers because, except for maybe São Paulo, but Recife and Santos, Porto Alegre had very small American populations. Even in this bank where I worked, the number of Americans was small, very small.
Okay, and then is the Rotary Club, is that the club that, like a social club? That's the one that you went to?
Well, business and social business.
Oh, how is it business related?
Well, it was a chance for American and businessmen working for American companies to associate with each other, get together, have speakers that would provide motivation and instructions to the American community.
And families would go to the Rotary Club? Or was it just men?
Just men. Well, they'd have social events, but the
Mhm.
meetings were made,
Okay.
as I can remember. Certainly in Latin America, there wouldn't be very many women in the business community.
And then, let's see. So what was the Partners for Progress?
It was a government-sponsored program to establish better or good relationships with foreign countries and businesses in foreign countries.
Mm-hmm. And how did they do that?
Through associations in the community.
Okay.
And there were many Brazilians that belonged to the Partners for Progress. Partners, even though they weren't citizens, they may have worked for an American company or had business relationships with American companies, and it was interesting for them to have contacts with these kind of associations.
And what did you do with them? You were a board member?
Well, yeah, no, 1 year I was president.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, board member.
Mm-hmm. And so what was your, okay. And then the United Way, what's that? I should probably know, but.
Yeah, that's an American organization to raise funds for worthy causes.
Do you feel like you made a difference in all of these programs?
Well, I don't know. I felt that the American community made a contribution,
Mm-hmm.
positive contribution with these programs. Of course, some of them were very new in their environment and kind of addressed the American community, business and residential community.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Do you mind if I ask another question about soccer?
If you don't expect much of an answer.
Okay, it's a risk. So you were there in Brazil for 1960, 1964, and 1968.
Well, we left in '59.
59. And so you were there for all three of the World Cups. Did you ever see much of a Brazilian reaction to the World Cups?
Oh yeah, it was that exciting time.
Oh, I bet. Would you mind describing that?
Well, the streets were frequently filled with fans, and when we lived, I can't remember where we lived when the World Cup was being played. I just can't remember. Marilyn might remember. But soccer is a very important part of life in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Very important. So every association has its own soccer team, and associations get together and form leagues. And so it's not just a professional; it's also
It's everyone.
amateur.
That's neat. Did you ever see just parades shutting down the streets?
Sure.
Really?
Mhm.
It was a common occurrence?
Oh, I don't know about common. You mean soccer?
Sure.
Yeah. If the World Cup was in, especially if Brazil won a game
Uh-huh.
or won the championship or something significant, the streets were always filled.
That's neat. That's really neat. Do you have anything?
No.
Okay.
Like, yeah. Did they decorate with flags at the time? Like, did they put big Brazilian flags everywhere and for the cup?
And flags of the different football clubs.
Well,
Have fun.
and where did they just hang them out of windows, or where did they?
Out of windows and on wires across the streets.
You relate an incident where you were at a friend's house and you hear a gunshot, 5 or 6 gunshots, and your cook calls and she says, "There's someone here." I grabbed the gun, fired the shots, the person ran away. And so, I guess my question is, were there ever times where you didn't feel safe in Brazil?
Not really. Not really. There was that incident, but that didn't happen very often. In fact, I think it was unique.
Cool.
And we weren't there. It was the maid that
Took care of it.
took care of it. Yeah. She knew where the gun was, too.
Oh my gosh.
She was a very independent, intelligent, feisty Spaniard woman.
Would you mind talking about her?
Not at all. Her name was Estrella, and she had a child, a boy, who grew up Rob's age, more or less, maybe a year difference, and they grew up together. She lived with us for, I don't remember, 8 or 10 years, maybe more. Marilyn would be able to be more exact on that. So Willie, her son, was part of our household during all that time. Because she lived with us. She had in her apartment a room in the back of the house, and so both of them were there. And he and Rob were same age, very close to the same age, so they played together.
I remember you talking about how she would spank William, her son, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would she ever spank Rob?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no. No. She would care for him, but she didn't take any disciplinary action that I can remember. I wasn't there during the day.
Yeah.
But no, I can't imagine her
Uh-huh.
doing that at all.
Would she come and tell you and Marilyn?
Yes. Yeah.
And then you also said Niquinho and Gilda lived in those apartments, the house that she lived in. Who were they?
Niquinho was the houseboy,
Okay.
and Gilda was the housemaid.
Okay.
And her mother, his mother, William's mother, was our cook and kind of boss of the household.
What would a houseboy do?
He would take care of the outside and help clean the inside, especially heavier work.
Mm-hmm. So Estrella,
Australia.
she
She was,
was mostly the cook.
yeah,
She did like the cooking, but she didn't do too much cleaning. That was
not too
for
much, no,
Gilda.
Gilda would do that.
Cool.
But she would help. She and Gilda got along very well.
Mhm.
Gilda was very young, and so I think Australia was kind of a mother figure to her.
Mhm. Was Gilda? She was in her late teenage years, or?
I think when she came to work for us, she was in her late teens.
And then Niquinho, he was in his teens as well?
No, he was a little older, in his 20s, as I remember.
Mhm.
Niquinho was a bachelor. He was not married, so all the time he was with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Make an interesting comment or two about the household help. When we were in Sao Paulo, we had two living families. One was Gilda, and she was alone, and Estrella, who had William with her. And then there was an outside domestic help that came in once or twice a week household help, a question on household help. Estrella and Gilda lived in, and there was an outside worker that came in periodically too. Who was that?
What do you want to know?
Estrella lived in.
And with Billy.
And Gilda lived in. But we had an outside maid that came in from time to time too.
In São Paulo or Recife?
Recife.
First São Paulo,
First it was just,
the two.
it was just Estrella, and we had a cleaning lady that come once a month, once a week.
Once a week, yeah,
But Estrella had Willie.
yeah.
Then in Recife, there's too many.
But
They
Estrella,
have one for this and one for that and one for this and one for that.
but it wasn't
No,
Estrella,
Estrella was the cook, and she was really the boss of the
the
house.
boss.
Mhm.
And then there was Nikiyu, who took care of the yard.
It was male.
And then there was
Single.
Gilda? Was it Gilda?
Gilda.
She made the beds and cleaned.
Mhm.
And helped Estrella, right?
And then also the chauffeur came in and had lunch also at our house.
Mhm. So did you eat lunch with everyone together?
No, the household help, they eat together, and then we ate.
Oh, and we had, once every other month, we had coconut tree guys come and harvest the coconut and take them away.
They would take them? They wouldn't give them to
Oh,
you?
they sell them on the street.
They buy them from us.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they'd leave our fridge with the green coconuts,
Uh-huh.
not the,
The green coconuts were good for the water,
Hmm.
but not for the meat.
Right. So how many green coconuts do they usually leave you?
I have no idea.
huh?
How many, when they harvested, when the Kenya
Oh,
harvested,
lots, lots. At least 100.
Wow.
but they
Well, we
didn't
had
go,
like 8 trees.
Uh-huh.
we had more than that, didn't we?
We could, yeah.
We did.
The backyard was all full of
And
coconut
it was a
trees.
big backyard.
Uh-huh.
Seems dangerous.
What are they called? Situs or something?
Who?
A situ? Those big houses with the big yards with lots of fruit trees.
Sitio.
Situ?
No, I don't remember. I'm acquainted with the word, but sitio to me is more of a country style home.
Mm-hmm. And then, what was I going to ask about? Who was in charge of cutting open the coconuts?
Huh?
Who was in charge of cutting open the coconuts when you wanted to drink the water, the coconut water?
Who would slice the coconut open?
Oh,
Niquino.
anybody.
With a machete?
Yeah, oh yeah, but then they just cut the top off and put a straw in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but she's asking who did the cutting.
The coconut guys, the coconut tree guys.
Hmm. Would
Uh-huh.
William ever do it?
Well, I mean, when you wanted to drink the water. The
Oh,
coconut.
you just sliced off the top.
Did you ever?
Who did that?
Huh?
Who sliced it? Did Niquino do that?
Anybody in the kitchen, anybody.
Huh.
Oh,
Did you
they-
ever slice it?
No, I never did, I had somebody else do it.
Did you ever do it, Grandpa?
Probably.
Probably,
Would Rob ever do it?
I don't remember.
I don't know,
Probably not. He was too young.
It's a little dangerous.
it was kind of a little dangerous
Yeah.
because they used the big knife.
Machete.
Uh-huh.
That's fun. So would you eat fruit pretty regularly? Then? Was that a major part of your diet down there?
I think so, don't you?
Hmm?
Fruit was an important part of our diet, right? Fresh
Coconut
fruit?
water, yeah.
No, fresh fruit.
Oh,
Was it-
yeah. All the different tropical fruit.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even name them now.
So is that your typical lunch? Rice, beans, and fruit?
I don't know about typical, it was frequent.
Okay. That's neat. That's really neat.
No, we had a cook that was a good cook,
Mm-hmm.
and she had a good manager, so we ate well. It
She
wasn't,
really took over.
You said you used to eat a lot of crab and fish and good things like that in the seafood.
We had, the biggest treat, I think, was the frozen lobster tail,
Mm-hmm.
because Bob's client was a fish distributor.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, he was a lobster exporter too. So, yeah, we always had lobster,
Yeah. Yummy.
lobster tail.
Oh, no.
Come
You
sit
should
next to
do it,
Grandma.
You should
I don't want that.
Okay. What was your favorite thing to eat?
Well, it
Like
depends
you
on where
said
we
lobster
live.
tail. Yeah, I guess so. What about juice? Did you have a lot of juice? Favorite juice?
Yeah, we had a lot of fruit juices in Recife. We had
We had
fruit
a lot of-
trees, right?
Wow.
We had maracujá all the time too.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. Yum.
And they squeeze the oranges and nothing was in can.
Yeah. Did you have mango trees too?
Well, you did. We had mango trees in Recife, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, I think we did.
But you could buy them really easy.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had a mango tree.
We had banana trees, and coconut trees. I think that's all.
I think we had one big mango tree.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Do you have any more questions?
I just have questions about leaving Brazil. But do you have any more questions about Brazil?
No, not that I can think of right now.
Oh, quick question. I asked Grandpa if you ever went to see a soccer game.
Yes, because Rob plays soccer.
I'm sorry, professional, like Pele.
No, but I think he told you about the time we were on the plane and the whole Brazilian soccer team was on the plane and Rob got to sit with Pelé.
My dad told me that story. Do you guys want to share it for us?
Yeah, that's true.
It is true.
Yeah, he went up and sat with Pele.
Yeah.
We had a stopover between Rio and Sao Paulo and Recife. And I think it was in Bahia, but I'm not sure. And so most of the soccer team got off to get a drink, a refreshment, but Pelé stayed in the plane. So Rob went back and sat with him and had a really long talk. It was really interesting. He got his signature and they talked about soccer.
That's cool.
But no, we never went to a game.
Okay.
We went to Rob's games
Mm-hmm.
at school, but not.
Pele would usually not get off the plane because it'd kind of be mobbed.
So many people.
I think Rob has a picture with he had a picture of himself, but Pelé signed it.
How funny.
How funny, that's cool. I did have another question. You bought a sailboat, and so would you ever go with the whole family sailing?
It was usually Rob and I. Did you go with us?
Sailing? Never.
Where
When I got seasick,
It
in those
was-
days, I was seasick. I would get seasick just like that.
It was just a little sailboat,
Mhm.
and so we didn't go out very far.
Mhm.
Would you ever go fishing from the sailboat?
I can't remember. Did we go fishing?
I don't think so. I think it was,
Too busy.
you had to manipulate the sail.
Sails and the rudder. Yeah.
Where did you learn to sail?
It's not very difficult to sail a little sailboat.
But it keeps you busy.
Oh yeah, it was one mast, main mast, and a small front mast sail. So it wasn't very difficult to. It was just a small sailboat and a centerboard. Pretty easy to operate.
How fun. Did Cosette ever go with you? She was probably.
She was pretty little.
How old was Cosette and Recife?
2 or 3, right?
Oh, so she was tiny.
No, she was born in
63.
63. And we lived in Santos. She's from 4 on, 4 to 8.
Did she have any activities that she would do? Any group activities?
No.
Because there
She
probably
went
wasn't
to
girls'
nursery
soccer.
school, and she went to grade school.
It was an American school.
Mm-hmm.
Did she have a lot of friends? And would Rob's friends and Cosette's friends ever come over and spend time at the house?
Uh-huh.
What did they do together?
And there were a lot of activities at the school, which was right close to our house, where all Americans and foreigners, went to school. So there were a lot of activities over there.
Mhm.
And the mothers, they had a lunch counter, and the mothers supplied the lunch.
Hmm.
So you're always going over there for something.
Uh-huh.
That's neat. So I just had a few questions about leaving Brazil. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but if you wouldn't just mind saying it for the camera. So was it difficult to leave Brazil? And if so, why was it so difficult?
Well, we've been there for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a good job, especially the last 6 years when I was manager. And we were an important part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a pretty good life.
But it was not hard. I mean, easy, because there were no supermarkets and, the fresh markets.
Mhm.
And
Well, there were supermarkets, but they were pretty primitive.
Mm-hmm.
everything was pretty primitive.
That's what I wanted to ask next. What was the hardest part about living in Brazil?
2 things. Getting food on the table, of course. But you kind of get used to, going to places where you can find things. And being away from family.
Mm-hmm. What did you think, Grandpa?
I thought things were pretty good. I was gone for long hours, 5 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
and also for a certain number of years I was branch president too, right, in the church. So I was kept busy.
What did you miss most about Brazil? Like when you got back to New Jersey, what was it that you missed most?
The beaches.
The beaches?
Because everybody said, we're going to go to Cape May. It's so beautiful there. I go to Cape May. It wasn't beautiful. It wasn't. The beaches in Brazil are beautiful, not Cape May.
That's funny. What did you think, Grandpa? What did you miss the most about Brazil when you got back to the States?
Well, I think the biggest change for me was for our last 5 or 6 years, I was in charge,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of lost that position because I went to a bigger organization, and wasn't running the show like I did at least for those years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had a hard time acclimatizing himself in the bank in New York after we came back.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
It was pretty difficult to adjust.
Well, yeah, because in Brazil, for the full 12 years we were there, we had a small, close-knit group
Mhm.
in the bank of Americans, and worked well with the Brazilians. And it was like you're working for an independent company with limited interference from the U.S., except when the inspectors came.
Mhm.
But once you get up into New York, you're just a number.
That sounds like how Robert's dealing with BYU. He was saying it's hard to go from being a senior in high school to
Oh, yes.
freshman.
Being a freshman.
He tries to look down on freshmen, but we have to remind freshmen as well. It's kind of funny.
Still living as a senior, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, two more questions for you about leaving Brazil. So Brazil, when you left in 1971, the church was just starting to grow, and I feel like the economy was just starting to pick up. Did you have any kind of good feelings about the church growth or the Brazil's place in the world?
Yeah. Yeah, we saw the church in the north grow. São Paulo, it was already a pretty good size when we lived there, wasn't it? So we didn't witness the same growth in São Paulo that we did in the north.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first moved to Brazil, we were in Porto Alegre, which is a smaller LDS community.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a good start. Porto Alegre was a good start, I guess, for another reason, and it was pretty much of a European-like community. A lot of Germans, a lot of Italians.
I remember we'd go to church. There were no air conditioning, no fans, no nothing. And it was right down in the center of town, the only church that was built at that time.
In Recife?
And we go to church, and we'd come home. We had to take our clothes off completely because they were all wet, sweat. I mean, it was so hot.
That was Porto Alegre.
No, Recife.
Oh, up in Recife. Okay.
Did you have any air conditioning at all in your house?
Yeah, we had a few. We had a couple of window units, didn't we? How many window units did we?
We had a couple of windows, yeah, in the bedrooms.
Hmm.
Would you just keep the doors closed to those rooms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was the water heated?
There was an electric thing
Uh-huh.
on top of the shower
Mm-hmm.
where the water came through, and it heated as the water came through.
It was spiral.
Right.
The water came.
It would electrocute it, right, to heat it up or something. And when you did you ever get shocked when your hand was up there?
Hmm.
No.
It's a miracle.
Yeah. And could you change the settings on it to hot, warm?
Yeah, you'd have to change it hot, cold,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. It's like a little cap.
Last question about leaving Brazil, that I have at least. Was it difficult to leave Estrella? Because it seems like she was a part of your family while she was there.
Was it what?
Was it difficult to leave Estrella?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Ron felt badly because, Willie was almost like a brother to him.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, and they were members of the church, so we had that link also.
Mm-hmm.
And they were with us for a long time. How many years? 10, 11 years?
Yeah.
And you kept contact with her every year, just through Christmas cards, or how did you keep contact with her?
Letters.
Letters? And you kept that up all the way until 2012?
Well, it's probably 2011 or something like
2011.
that. Yeah.
That's neat.
Were there any other lifelong friends you made in Brazil that you've kept in contact with?
Yes, we still get letters from some friends of ours. Cantoris especially.
Do they still live down there?
Yeah, they still live in Brazil.
He is an American, and he married a Brazilian girl. He went to Brazil with the bank as a single man. The first place was Porto Alegre, and he married a local.
All right. I was going to jump into New York and Mexico City, if that's okay.
Wherever you'd like to jump.
Okay. So you get back to New York, you buy a home. Should we take off?
I'll be
Okay. You buy a home, and then Melanie, she came along about 18 months afterwards. Is that right?
She was born in 73,
72.
a year later.
A year later. Where did you get the name Melanie? Because it seems like Rob and Cosette, both those names came from somewhere.
Where would they have come from?
Rob coming from you, and Cosette coming from Victor Hugo.
Oh, yes, that's right. That's right. That's in the history, isn't it?
I think so.
That's right.
We had a family home meeting
Uh-huh.
with Rob and Cosette, and we said we need to write down names of boys and girls that we could use, because we didn't know the sex. And so everybody wrote down the names they liked, and we checked them off, and then we made a vote. If it's a girl, it's this. If it's a boy, this. That's how she got her name.
Really?
Yeah.
So did you put in the name Melanie?
I don't know who
I
did.
don't remember.
Interesting. That's very interesting. How was it? So we talked about how it was difficult for you to readjust back to New Jersey, or coming back to the States. Was it difficult for Rob or Cosette?
Yeah.
How so?
Well, because they had a very structured school system
In
in
Brazil?
New Jersey, and it wasn't so structured in Brazil.
Mm.
It was not. It was more relaxed,
Hmm.
and
I guess they had a little catch up to do, didn't they?
yeah, but it wasn't bad. It was more worse when when we came back from Mexico, because Melanie was way behind.
Oh, really?
It was very hard for Melanie coming back from Mexico. Right?
I'd forgotten that.
So Melanie was born in 73, is that right? Melanie was born in 73. And then you talk about how you were able to travel so quite frequently in New York for your job. Did you ever feel like you got a, I don't know, I kind of wanted to ask about the cultures that you experience in those different countries.
Well, I was basically what one would call an international banker,
Mm-hmm.
and traveled frequently, right? And I would say more frequently to Latin America than elsewhere,
Mm-hmm.
but I did travel to Europe, and to a lesser degree, even the Far East, right? So I traveled pretty much worldwide.
You talk about in here when you were reading Station in California with the Air National Guard, how you read through Victor Hugo, Les Miserables, and that really came to influence your sense of charity for people who are poor, for the unfortunate.
Right.
Did you have any experiences while you were abroad with kind of to reinforce that same notion, I guess?
Well, we were certainly exposed to poverty in Brazil, especially the north.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we did acquire a certain concern for our fellow
Mm-hmm.
beings. In the north, I mean, there's a big difference between northern Brazil and southern Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Because southern Brazil is much more developed and prosperous
Mm-hmm.
and European oriented. And the north is very poor and underdeveloped. And life is more difficult there.
Okay. So you stayed in New Jersey, and then, it talks about how you picked up Rob in Sydney. How was it to send him on his mission? Was that an interesting experience? Was that a sad experience?
Oh, as I remember it, it was something that we looked forward to for years.
Really?
Yeah, don't you think?
Yeah. It was kind of a shock, though.
To go that far away.
Sydney.
No, the reason being, when he put it in his papers, I thought for sure he would go back to Brazil
Uh-huh.
or go back to America.
Because he was fluent in both languages.
Uh-huh.
And here he goes to Australia.
Huh.
That just didn't make sense. But he used his Spanish and some Portuguese in Australia.
Hmm.
I mean, it was kind of shocking. But
Would you always, while Rob was growing up, would you always kind of have family home evenings about the importance of going on missions?
Did we?
I guess, how did you instill the importance of a mission in Rob?
I don't know.
Just did.
Well, he knew of my missionary experiences
Uh-huh.
and other members of the family. I would think that we thought that it was just a natural thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Would you share with him a lot of stories
Mhm.
about your
It was
mission?
just kind of in the plan.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't yes or no.
Yeah.
It was just there.
Cool.
And of course, he grew up in such a way, I mean, his behavior was such that there was no question what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was.
He was as near to the perfect child as you could get.
No, it wasn't. It just was in. It was just there.
Yeah, there was no question about his going on a mission.
Cool. So, did Rob go to a year of college before his mission,
Yeah.
and then he went? Why do you think he went to BYU? Because both of you went to University of Utah.
Well, we had a home teacher who was from the University of Utah. His name was Robert Fletcher,
Huh?
and he was also our bishop. And he was very, very helpful when Rob was kind of looking for the club, the school.
Mm-hmm.
He would give Rob the good points about the U and the good points about the Y.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to remember, the Y wasn't as huge as it was when Rob went.
Mm-hmm.
But Rob was really, I don't think he really said, well, I'm going to go to the Y or I'm going to go to the U. He really debated it.
Hmm.
We told him the good things about the U, of course, and Robert Fletcher had some children that went to the U and some that went to the Y. And so, al final, that's what he chose. We just wanted him to make the best decision.
Hmm.
Make the best decision.
Yeah, it was a good decision.
That's neat.
I mean, it was, he debated it long and on.
Hmm.
In fact, that letter I got today says something like, he was debating when, in the Christmas letter I said, he was debating whether he would go to you. That Christmas letter I got today.
That's neat.
So,
With Cosette, when she was deciding.
we were really Cosette because Cosette didn't have as wonderful as grades as Rob did.
Uh-huh.
And a stigma that there was then, as there is now. So Cosette went to summer school, and then she got in. But Rob was accepted both. So,
That's neat. Let me think.
Melanie didn't go to the Y though.
She went to BYU, Idaho, or
Yeah.
Ricks.
but she went to BYU, Idaho for 2 years,
Uh-huh.
and then she went to the U for 2 semesters. Hated it.
I didn't know she went to the U.
She did not like it at all. And then Jill Nickerson asked her to come and room with her and go to Weber. That's what she did.
That's
neat.
where she finished.
That's cool. I get what. Well, I guess how are you involved in Rob's and Cosette's and Melanie's high school experiences?
How were we involved?
Right.
Rob has gone a lot. Bob
Was he?
has gone a lot.
Yeah. I traveled at least half the time, right?
Yeah. We would go to the meetings and we would go to Rob's soccer games. And we did the PTA thing and
I thought we were pretty well involved,
Cool.
don't you?
yeah. I was more so than he was. I'm gonna go say if Elise is okay.
Of course, we weren't in Utah either.
Mhm.
When the kids were going to school, we were either in Brazil or New York or Mexico.
Mhm.
Um, So,
She did to the world. Is she okay?
She's just sleepy.
What's the question?
I can't remember.
well, it provoked the answer that we were not in the U.S. We were not in Utah. I mean, we were in Brazil
Mhm.
or Mexico
Mhm.
or the eastern coast.
Mhm. That's neat. And then, so this was the other question I was going to ask. So you tried to you were very involved all throughout their, I guess, high school experiences. How is that to balance how did that balance with all your traveling? I imagine that was pretty difficult to balance.
Well, she probably was more active than I was.
Uh-huh.
I was gone about half the time, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Just like your dad. But of course he was home more than your dad.
Mm.
But I guess it evens out.
Mm-hmm. And so you took off to Mexico City to kind of, let's see, you went there to manage one of the leasing asset businesses of your branch of Citibank
One
there.
of the what we called asset-based
Asset-based.
finance businesses.
Uh-huh.
That was terrible. It was awful.
Really?
For him, yeah.
Okay. Why was it so?
You tell him why, in your opinion, why was it bad for me?
Because the peso devalued, and they were always having troubles. Always. Some people were in debt. The companies they worked with were really struggling.
Financial problems.
Mm-hmm.
And because Bob worked long hours. We only saw him on the weekend. And Melanie was in a bilingual school.
Mm-hmm.
She couldn't get in American school because we were there at off time. When we moved there, it was an off time, and their quota was filled. So she went to bilingual school, and so when we went back to New Jersey, she really struggled. She really struggled.
You mentioned, I guess, how was the home? Well, was Mexico City similar to living in Brazil?
Never.
Completely
Not at all.
different.
Big difference.
How is it so different?
Brazil was a good place to live.
Mexico City wasn't.
No, Mexico was difficult.
Really?
The whole
It
thing.
was difficult working, it was difficult living.
The
People were,
pollution was terrible. It was cold or hot, but the air was awful, just like it is here in the immersion.
yeah, Mexico City had a permanent inversion.
Oof.
Maybe that's where I started to get sick.
Maybe. And so it talks, well, I guess I'll leave that. It talks about how Rob mentioned that he met Kayleen and that they came down to Mexico for their honeymoon. Were you able to attend their wedding?
Say that again.
Were you able to attend Rob and Kayleen's wedding up here in Utah?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
We made it was kind of funny when we came home for Christmas. We came home for Christmas one year.
Mm-hmm.
After we'd been there, I think, a year or so. We wanted to be in the States for Christmas. And so Rob said, after we'd been in my parents' house for a couple of days, he said, I want to go to California. And we just come from Mexico. We said, why do you want to go to California? And he said, because I want to meet someone. And we said, Rob, we just came to California, or came to Utah to be with you. Why are you going to California? We said, we don't want you to go to California.
Did you feel a little cheated?
Well, I think it's an experience that all parents go through when their children meet a mate.
So funny, we said, no, we don't want you to go. So a couple of days passed, we had Christmas, and he went back to BYU where he was staying, and he came back and he said, I have a ride to California. I'm going to California.
How funny. And Cosette, she got married while you were in Mexico as well. Is that right?
No.
Oh no, you were in New Jersey? Okay. How was Cosette's wedding? Or I don't know. I guess, what was the experience with Cosette and Brad?
Well, we were in New Jersey, and Cosette said she had a boyfriend that wanted to come and see her, and would Bob go to what airport in New York?
Oh, I don't remember, was it JFK or?
It wasn't JFK, it was the other one in New York City. What's the name of it?
LaGuardia?
LaGuardia. She said, he wants you to pick him up there because he has a free ticket to LaGuardia. That's not a way to make a good impression. To have somebody go to LaGuardia to pick you up. That was just never done.
We wanted to go to Newark, which was in New Jersey and close to us and easy to get to.
So when he came, we kind of knew, we kind of expected that.
That's neat.
But back to Kayleen and Rob. So we go back to Mexico after his visit to California. And I think it was in January, February. we get a call from I'm engaged. Can you make it to Salt Lake for the wedding? No. We
That's
did.
funny. That's funny. Well, this is just about out of time. So I think we'll just end it there on that note.